how do we expand rather than narrow the discussion of sexual violence? You talked about the weak, you talked about the other frontline stories. And I think this is the story that we need to take out. How do we make media expand the focus of social attention? It is a reality that there are some incidents which capture the imagination of people. Why it happens, nobody knows. There are too many other factors into it. But because it happens, it should not necessarily be trivialized. That it triggered discussion is very positive. That we should channelize it to help people to talk about a larger thing is the challenge before all of us, whether in the activist world or in the world of concerned citizens or with the media. And that is exactly the type of issue that Manoj ended up, and I would like to put it differently. Is the media manufacturing consent? If this consent is being created, what type of a consent is the media creating? All the four of you talked about the fact that the media is very seriously engaged using the limits of their own technology in terms of creating or manufacturing consent of a particular type. All four of you talked about the need to break this type of officially sanctioned consent. If so, what type of consent do we create? Or putting it differently, how do we demanufacture this consent? And how do we create an informed democracy? Because in the informed democracy is both security for us as a nation and in an informed decision making, particularly in the context of sexual violence, lies the future for more than 52% of India's population, which is women. And that is exactly where social media in all its forms has to position itself. That unless it relates to the reality of sexual violence occurring in India, we'll be sadly missing the bus. The first two sessions had already talked about the law part of it. They talked about the larger social construct part of it. I'm just linking it up all with the final thing, that ultimately the media is what shapes the mind. And the challenge is, how do we change mindsets? Entrenched mindsets are not easy to change. And they don't change because one story has shaken up people. Mindset changes and institutional culture reform are very, very serious issues that our nation has not yet dealt with. Changing mindsets requires much more deeper, committed involvement of a variety of people. But the media has an extremely important role to play. There's a Times of India a film that was brought about 3 years back. So this beautiful visual of, it was shot in Bombay. There's a whole lot of traffic which is stopped because there's a tree which has fallen on the road. And the tree has fallen on the road. There's one politician who comes, who stops there. They call up to say, bring another car. A lot of the older people who are watching it don't do anything. They just stand there. One boy comes, it's raining. Young, छोटा मोटा boy, 7 years, 8 years old. He looks at all the older people, each of them doing their various things in a city bus and in an auto and nothing. He just drops a bundle.